Have you ever reached for a piece of fruit, a sweet, juicy apple or a handful of those perfect, crisp grapes, thinking you're making the absolute best choice for your health? For our entire lives, we've been told that fruit is nature's perfect food, a simple, wholesome gift from the earth. It's a belief we all share, a simple truth we've even passed down to our own children and grandchildren. But what if I told you that this one simple, seemingly innocent habit could be one of the most dangerous things you do all day? I'm talking about a habit that millions of Americans over 60 practice daily. One that could quietly, silently, raise your risk of a stroke overnight. With no warning signs, no symptoms, and absolutely no pain. You go to bed feeling just fine, and by morning, your entire world is turned upside down. As a brain doctor, I've spent decades sitting with patients and their families in the aftermath of these tragedies. And I have seen far too many wonderful folks suffer strokes they never, ever saw coming. Not from smoking, not from fast food, but from something they held in their own hands and believed was pure goodness. Yes, I'm talking about fruit. This isn't just a theory from a textbook. It's a reality I see every single week. In our golden years, our bodies change. Our kidneys filter a little slower. Our blood vessels are a little less flexible. And for many of us, certain fruits can overwhelm this delicate system. They can send your blood sugar on a dangerous roller coaster. They can interfere with your essential heart and blood pressure medications, or even quietly dehydrate your brain while you sleep. And the most heartbreaking part of all this? Nobody ever warns you. That's why I made this video. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 common fruits that could be hidden risks. But I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to arm you with knowledge. We will go through each one, and I will give you the simple, safe ways to enjoy nature's sweetness without the worry. And please, I need you to stick with me until the end. The final few fruits on our list interact with some of the most common medications prescribed to seniors, and understanding this interaction is absolutely critical. I promise you, the information in that final section could save a life. It might even be your own. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something from the heart. If you've ever felt just a little bit confused or even worried about what's truly healthy for you at this stage in life, please just type a simple yes in the comments below. It lets me know that this message is needed, and it shows others in our community that they are not alone in feeling this way. Okay, let's get started. Alright, let's get started. We'll begin with fruit number 1, the banana. They're soft, they're easy to eat, and for decades, they've been labeled as heart-healthy. Bananas are a staple in so many American kitchens for good reason. But once you're past 60, everything changes. The way your body processes this simple fruit is not the same, and the danger lies in a mineral we've all been taught is our friend, potassium. Now, in the right amount, potassium is essential. But here's the core issue. As we get older, our kidneys, which act as the body's filter system, naturally begin to slow down. They just don't clear things out with the same efficiency they did at 40. This means that a large dose of potassium, like the 450 milligrams you can get from a single large banana, can start to build up in your bloodstream. For a senior's body, this can be incredibly dangerous. It can cause your heart to misfire, creating an irregular rhythm. Even more concerning, it makes your blood thicker, stickier, creating the perfect conditions for a blood clot to form, especially while you sleep. This risk becomes much higher if you're taking one of those common water pills, or diuretics, or certain blood pressure medications like ACE inhibitors, which many seniors rely on daily. I'll never forget a patient of mine, Mr. Arthur Miller. He was a wonderful man, a 66-year-old retired carpenter from Ohio who took great pride in his health. Every single morning, he had a routine, a bowl of oatmeal with a sliced banana, which he'd wash down with his blood pressure pill. One morning, his wife found him collapsed on the bathroom floor. He had suffered a small but devastating stroke. When we ran his blood work at the hospital, his potassium levels were dangerously high. That simple, healthy routine, that banana, when combined with his medication, had silently created a perfect storm inside his body. So, this is not about fearing bananas. It is about respecting them. My advice is simple and clear. Limit yourself to just half a banana a day, and please, have it in the morning. Always pair it with a little protein, like a spoonful of Greek yogurt or a few almonds. to slow everything down. And I urge you, have that 5-minute conversation with your doctor or pharmacist. Ask them, how does potassium interact with my specific prescriptions? That simple question. It truly could save your life. Now, let's move on to fruit number 2, grapes. Sweet, juicy, and so easy to pop in your mouth one after another. They feel as innocent as a summer breeze, always present at family gatherings and in lunchboxes. But for an aging body, especially one that might be struggling with blood sugar, a handful of grapes can be a little sugar bomb in a tiny package. When you eat those sweet, seedless grapes, especially by themselves, that sugar hits your bloodstream like a tidal wave. And here's the fundamental reason this is so risky for seniors. As we get older, our body's ability to manage that sugar, our insulin response, it just isn't as sharp as it used to be. This sudden sugar surge causes inflammation. I want you to picture it like this. It creates tiny, microscopic tears on the delicate inner walls of your arteries, including the crucial, fragile ones that feed your brain. And what does your body do when there's an injury? It sends out a repair crew to patch up those tears. Those little patches are what we know as blood clots. This is how a silent stroke can begin, not with a dramatic event, but with a slow, steady process of damage and repair, fueled by habits you thought were healthy. Over time, those little clots can grow, or one can break loose and travel to the brain. I often think of a retired schoolteacher I treated, Mrs. Eleanor Vance, a lovely 80-year-old woman from Missouri. She was proud of her healthy lifestyle, and her favorite snack while reading the paper was a generous bowl of red grapes. One day, her vision suddenly blurred while she was writing a birthday card. Her hand began to tremble. At the hospital, we discovered she'd had a TIA, a mini-stroke. Her lab results were the real eye-opener. They showed these wild, uncontrolled sugar spikes around midday, spikes she never felt and never, ever suspected were being caused by her healthy snack. So here is the simple rule I give my patients now. First, never eat grapes by the bowlful on an empty stomach. Think of them as a garnish, not a meal. If you enjoy them, always pair a small handful with a friend, like a slice of cheese or a few almonds. The protein and fat act as a buffer, preventing that dangerous sugar rush. And if you are pre-diabetic or have been diagnosed with diabetes, you need to treat grapes with extreme caution and discuss them with your doctor. Now, let's move on to fruit number 2, grapes. Sweet, juicy, and so easy to pop in your mouth one after another. They feel as innocent as a summer breeze, always present at family gatherings and in lunchboxes. But for an aging body, especially one that might be struggling with blood sugar, a handful of grapes can be a little sugar bomb in a tiny package. When you eat those sweet, seedless grapes, especially by themselves, that sugar hits your bloodstream like a tidal wave. And here's the fundamental reason this is so risky for seniors. As we get older, our body's ability to manage that sugar, our insulin response, it just isn't as sharp as it used to be. This sudden sugar surge causes inflammation. I want you to picture it like this. It creates tiny, microscopic tears on the delicate inner walls of your arteries, including the crucial, fragile ones that feed your brain. And what does your body do when there's an injury? It sends out a repair crew to patch up those tears. Those little patches are what we know as blood clots. This is how a silent stroke can begin, not with a dramatic event, but with a slow, steady process of damage and repair, fueled by habits you thought were healthy. Over time, those little clots can grow, or one can break loose and travel to the brain. I often think of a retired schoolteacher I treated, Mrs. Eleanor Vance, a lovely 80-year-old woman from Missouri. She was proud of her healthy lifestyle, and her favorite snack while reading the paper was a generous bowl of red grapes. One day, her vision suddenly blurred while she was writing a birthday card. Her hand began to tremble. At the hospital, we discovered she'd had a TIA, a mini-stroke. Her lab results were the real eye-opener. They showed these wild, uncontrolled sugar spikes around midday, spikes she never felt and never, ever suspected were being caused by her healthy snack. So here is the simple rule I give my patients now. First, never eat grapes by the bowlful on an empty stomach. Think of them as a garnish, not a meal. If you enjoy them, always pair a small handful with a friend, like a slice of cheese or a few almonds. The protein and fat act as a buffer, preventing that dangerous sugar rush. And if you are pre-diabetic or have been diagnosed with diabetes, You need to treat grapes with extreme caution and discuss them with your doctor. Okay, on to fruit number 3, pineapple. There's something about pineapple that just feels like sunshine in a bite, doesn't it? Many of my older patients love it as a light, guilt-free treat after dinner. But this sweet and tangy fruit, with its combination of acid and sugar, can become a silent risk factor, especially overnight. Here's why it can be a triple threat to an aging body. First, like grapes, pineapple has a high sugar content that can send your blood glucose soaring. But it's the other two threats that are more surprising. The second is its high acid content. This can trigger what's known as silent reflux while you sleep. You may not feel any heartburn, but tiny amounts of stomach acid can creep up, causing airway changes that have been linked to reduced oxygen to the brain during your most vulnerable hours. The third threat is a natural enzyme in pineapple called bromelain. In small amounts, it can be fine, but in excess, especially if you're taking certain medications, it can actually interfere with your blood's ability to clot properly. When you combine these three things, a sugar spike, nighttime acid reflux, and an enzyme that affects clotting, you're creating dangerous, unstable conditions inside your blood vessels while you sleep. As we age, our digestion slows, our vessel walls thin, and our sleep becomes more fragile, making this combination particularly hazardous. I once treated a patient named Mrs. Grace Sullivan, a 77-year-old retired choir director from North Carolina. For over a year, her nightly ritual was a few slices of fresh pineapple for dessert. One morning, she woke up feeling disoriented, slurring her words, and unable to balance. Her scans revealed a small stroke that had affected her balance and speech. Her blood work told the story: elevated glucose, signs of nighttime reflux, and platelet irregularities. It was a perfect storm, created by a fruit she believed was helping her. So, if you love pineapple, please enjoy it earlier in the day and in small amounts. And most importantly, never eat it right before you go to bed. If you're on any kind of blood thinner, you must ask your doctor specifically about pineapple. If this surprises you, let me know by commenting "Wow" below. It helps me understand what information is most valuable to you. Let's keep going with fruit number 4, watermelon. Watermelon on the 4th of July. What's more American than that? It's refreshing, it's full of water, and it feels completely harmless. We think of it as the ultimate hydrating fruit. But for a senior, it can quietly do the exact opposite, and the consequences can be serious. Here's the simple truth most people don't know. Watermelon is a powerful natural diuretic. In plain English, it makes you urinate more frequently. For a young person, that's no big deal. But for a person over 70, especially someone who is already taking a water pill or other blood pressure medication, this effect can lead to dangerous overnight dehydration. And why is dehydration so dangerous for your brain? Because when your body loses too much fluid, your blood becomes thicker. It becomes sluggish. I want you to imagine thick syrup trying to flow through very narrow tubes. That's what's happening inside your arteries. This thick, slow-moving blood has much more time and opportunity to form clots, especially in vessels that have already been stiffened and narrowed by age. This is one of the most common and most overlooked triggers for strokes that happen during sleep. I had an 82-year-old patient, a retired postal worker from Indiana named Mr. Frank Thompson. He was doing everything right, or so he thought. His favorite habit was eating a few large slices of watermelon after dinner to stay hydrated. But he was also on a diuretic for mild heart failure. One morning, he tried to stand up and collapsed from severe vertigo. At the hospital, his blood pressure was dangerously low, and his blood work showed clear signs of dehydration. His blood had thickened. He'd had a stroke. That watermelon, which he thought was hydrating him, had actually been drying him out all along. So, if you enjoy watermelon, enjoy it wisely. Eat it earlier in the day. And if you do have a slice, consider pairing it with a small pinch of salt or a sip of something with electrolytes to help your body hold on to that hydration. Most importantly, listen to your body. Waking up feeling dizzy or with a very dry mouth is not a normal part of aging. It's a warning sign. Alright, moving on to number 5. This one is a true American classic: oranges. A glass of fresh squeezed orange juice with breakfast has long been the very picture of health. For decades, we've seen it as nature's perfect source of vitamin C. But for an older adult, especially one taking common medications for their heart or blood pressure, that glass of sunshine can quietly become a chemical cocktail. The problem isn't just the sugar, although a full glass of juice can certainly send your blood glucose levels spiking. The hidden danger is a natural compound found inside citrus fruits called furanocoumarin. It's a word most people have never heard of, but it's incredibly important. Here's what it does. Furanocoumarins can interfere with, and sometimes completely block, a critical enzyme system in your liver. This is the very system your body uses to safely process and break down many essential medications, particularly statins for cholesterol and certain blood pressure drugs known as calcium channel blockers. When this system is blocked, instead of your body clearing the medication gradually as intended, the drug can build up in your bloodstream to dangerously high, even toxic levels. It's like taking 2 or 3 pills instead of the one your doctor prescribed, without even realizing it. This creates unstable conditions where your blood pressure can drop unpredictably or your blood vessels can be under stress, increasing the risk of a clot forming. I saw this happen with a kind, 79-year-old retired bus driver from Georgia named Mr. Walter Bishop. He was taking a statin for his cholesterol and a common blood pressure pill. Every morning, he prided himself on making a tall glass of fresh orange juice. But after a few days of feeling dizzy, he stood up from his chair and collapsed. At the ER, a scan revealed he'd had a mild stroke. His blood tests were shocking. The levels of his medications were dangerously elevated, not because he took too much, but because the orange juice had prevented his liver from doing its job. So please, be mindful. If you love citrus, consider choosing lower-risk options like clementines, and never, ever take your morning pills with a full glass of orange or grapefruit juice. The safest thing you can do is ask your pharmacist a simple, direct question. Could citrus fruit interact with any of my prescriptions? It's a vital conversation to have. Next, we have number 6. Apples. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. We've all heard it, we've all said it. Apples are handed out in hospitals and senior centers. They seem like the safest, most wholesome snack on earth. But the truth is, not all apples are created equal, and for an older adult, the wrong kind of apple can be a surprise sugar trap. Over the last few decades, many of the most popular American apples, like Honeycrisp, Fuji, and Gala, have been specifically bred to be incredibly sweet, not for their nutritional value. These modern apples have what we call a high glycemic load, meaning they flood your bloodstream with natural sugars much faster than an aging system can handle. If you eat one of these sweet apples by itself, without any protein or healthy fat to slow down digestion, it sets off a rapid blood sugar spike followed by an inevitable crash. This sudden up-and-down roller coaster does more than just affect your energy levels. It puts immense stress on your blood vessels. When your sugar spikes, your blood becomes a bit stickier, and your arteries tighten. Over time, this repeated daily pattern can damage the delicate inner lining of those arteries, including the ones leading to your brain. This constant irritation and inflammation is exactly what can lead to the formation of small blood clots as your body tries to repair the damage. One of my patients, Mrs. Betty Peterson, an 81-year-old from Pennsylvania, was a perfect example. She was healthy, she walked daily, and her go-to afternoon snack was always a large Honeycrisp apple. "No cookies for me, Doc," she'd say. But she didn't realize she was also insulin resistant, and those daily sugar surges were quietly overwhelming her aging blood vessels. One evening, she lost her ability to speak clearly. It was a minor stroke. Her lab work showed a clear pattern of unstable blood glucose. The culprit was a simple, wholesome apple that was just too sweet for her body to handle. So, the solution isn't to stop eating apples. It's to choose wisely. Opt for a tart apple, like a Granny Smith, which is lower in sugar. And always eat your apple slices with a partner. A spoonful of almond butter, a handful of walnuts, or a simple slice of cheese. This simple trick dramatically reduces that glycemic impact, giving you stable fuel, not a roller coaster. And now, for fruit number 7, cherries. Small, beautiful, and bursting with flavor, cherries have earned a wonderful reputation as a superfood, especially for helping with inflammation and arthritis pain. Doctors and wellness magazines often recommend them. But beneath that sweet taste, cherries carry a little-known risk, one that is especially critical for any older adult who is already on a blood thinner or even a daily low-dose aspirin. The danger lies in a natural compound found in cherries called salicylates. This is a blood-thinning substance that works in a way that is remarkably similar to aspirin. Now, for some people, this can be helpful. But for a senior whose blood is already being thinned by medications like warfarin, Plavix, or a daily aspirin, adding more of this natural blood thinner from food can push the body over the edge. The result isn't a stroke from a clot. It's the opposite, and far more dangerous: blood that becomes too thin to clot at all. This can lead to fragile vessels leaking, and in the worst-case scenario, a hemorrhagic stroke, which is a bleed inside the brain. I'll never forget Mr. George Cooper, an 84-year-old retired train conductor from Illinois. He was on a daily low-dose aspirin after a mild heart attack years ago. Every night, he ended his dinner with a small bowl of cherries, his nature's dessert, as he called them. But after a few weeks, he started experiencing headaches and dizziness. One morning, he woke up confused and vomiting. A CT scan revealed something terrifying: a brain bleed. His blood had become too thin, and a tiny vessel in his brain had ruptured. It was clear that the compounded effect of the salicylates from the cherries, on top of his prescribed aspirin, had silently created this perfect storm. So, please, I urge you to eat cherries mindfully. A few here and there are likely safe for most. But if you are on any medication that affects blood clotting, you must avoid cherry concentrate, juice, or eating large daily portions. This is another critical conversation to have with your doctor. What seems small and harmless can become incredibly serious inside an aging body. This is a critical piece of information. If you learned something new right now, please let me know by commenting "learned" below. Alright, we're nearing the end. Let's talk about number 8. Strawberries. They're heart-shaped, bright red, and the very picture of summer health. You see them served in hospital meal trays and blended into brain health smoothies. They look so pure and innocent. But for older adults, the truth behind conventionally grown strawberries can be far less sweet. For years now, strawberries have consistently topped what's known as the Dirty Dozen list. This is a list compiled by the Environmental Working Group that ranks produce with the highest levels of pesticide residues, even after they've been washed. For a younger person's body, this might not be a major issue. But here's the critical difference. A senior's natural detoxification system, mainly the liver and kidneys, works much more slowly. Those chemical residues don't get flushed out as easily. Instead, they can accumulate over time in your body's tissues, including the delicate tissues of the brain. Many of these pesticides are known neurotoxins, meaning they can, over the long term, cause damage to brain cells and weaken the fragile structure of your small blood vessels. This creates a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation from the inside out. But the risk doesn't stop there. Strawberries also contain natural compounds called purines, which the body breaks down into uric acid. For the large portion of seniors who may already struggle with gout, kidney issues, or vascular inflammation, elevated uric acid can act like gasoline on a fire, triggering more inflammation that can lead to narrowed blood vessels and, once again, the formation of blood clots. I remember a patient, Mrs. Dorothy Hayes, an 80-year-old from Michigan who adored strawberries. She ate them every single day. Over time, she began experiencing morning dizziness and joint swelling that just wouldn't go away. Then one morning, she woke up with numbness in her hand and slurred speech. She had suffered a minor stroke. Her lab work showed all the telltale signs: elevated uric acid and chronic inflammation. It was a slow-burning process, likely fed by years of exposure to pesticide residues and that purine overload from her favorite fruit. So, what should you do? This one is simple. If you eat strawberries, please make every effort to ensure they are organic. The difference in pesticide load is significant. Wash them thoroughly, and consider not eating them every single day. Think of them as a wonderful treat, not a daily staple, especially if you have a history of gout or kidney issues. And that brings us to our final fruit. Number 9. Mango. To many, mango feels like an exotic, tropical treat. It's soft, fragrant, and wonderfully sweet. You'll find it dried and packaged as a healthy alternative to candy at the grocery store. But for a senior, especially one managing a heart condition or taking multiple medications, this sweet fruit can be a silent saboteur. I say this because mango is a double whammy of risk. First, it is one of the highest sugar fruits you can eat. Just 1 cup of ripe mango can contain nearly 45 grams of sugar. That's more than a glazed donut. For a senior's body, that massive, rapid sugar spike places enormous inflammatory strain on blood vessels, especially the delicate ones in the brain. It's that same dangerous cycle: inflammation, damage, and clot formation. But there's a second, more hidden danger. Mango, much like citrus fruits, contains natural compounds that can interfere with how your liver processes medications. It can slow down that critical cytochrome P450 enzyme system, the same system we talked about with oranges. When that system slows, medications for heart rhythm, cholesterol, and blood pressure can build up in your body. This can cause your blood pressure to dip too low, especially overnight, or your heart rhythm to fluctuate without warning. A sudden drop in blood pressure while you sleep is a well-known trigger for an ischemic stroke. I saw this very clearly with Mr. Robert Shaw, an 83-year-old retired firefighter from Nevada. He was a proud, active man who recently switched from cookies to dried mango slices for his afternoon snack, thinking it was a smart choice. He was also taking medication for high blood pressure. After a few weeks, he began feeling lightheaded in the mornings, and one day, he collapsed. He had suffered a minor stroke. The culprit was clear. The daily mango overloaded his liver's ability to process his medication, causing his blood pressure to drop dangerously low while he slept. This is why I urge older adults to rethink mango. The sweetness masks its power. If you truly enjoy it, treat it like a rich dessert, a few small bites, only during the day, and always paired with some protein or fat to soften that sugar spike. And if you are on any prescription medication for your heart, please talk to your doctor first. At this stage of life, even a fruit can be powerful medicine, and we must treat it with the respect it deserves. After walking through these 9 fruits together, you might be feeling a little confused, maybe even a little betrayed by the very foods you've been told your whole life were nature's perfect medicine. And I want you to know, I completely understand that feeling. It's unsettling to learn that a simple banana or a handful of grapes isn't the same for your body today as it was 30 years ago. But the truth is, your body at 70, or 80, or even 90, is not the same. It doesn't mean you're fragile. It means you are wise. And the magnificent body that has carried you through a lifetime of experiences deserves that same wisdom in the choices you make for it now. Think back to the stories we talked about, of Mr. Arthur Miller with his morning banana, or Mrs. Eleanor Vance with her bowl of grapes. These were good people, smart people, who thought they were doing everything right for their health. Their stories are heartbreaking, not because they made a terrible mistake, but because their simple, well-intentioned habits became silent risks. These tragedies could have been prevented, not with more medicine, but with a little more awareness of how food and age interact. But here is the good news. And this is the most important part. This is not about fear. It is about empowerment. This is not about taking away the sweet joys of life. It's about enjoying them safely. You can still absolutely enjoy nature's sweetness. So, reach for those wonderful, brain-safe allies. Enjoy a bowl of beautiful berries. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. They are low in sugar and packed with antioxidants that protect your blood vessels. Savor a few slices of a tart Granny Smith apple with a piece of cheese. Enjoy creamy avocado, which is technically a fruit, rich in healthy fats that support your brain. The rules are simple. Eat your fruit earlier in the day, never right before bed. And always pair it with a friend. A little bit of protein or healthy fat to slow everything down and keep you stable. As we wrap up, we've explored some critical information that can truly transform our golden years. But knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself this week after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will swap my banana for blueberries, or I will talk to my pharmacist about citrus. Please share your personal commitment in the comments below. Reading your promises inspires our entire community to take that first, vital step. And if you found real value and inspiration in our time together today, please show your support by giving this video a like. To ensure you continue on this journey with us, and never miss another video full of honest health wisdom made just for you, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a community of friends, all dedicated to living our best and healthiest lives together. Finally, think of one person in your life who needs to hear this message today, and please share it with them. You never know. You might just change their life. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.